I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined now by United States Senator Rick Scott. Of course, Senator Scott represents the great state of Florida. He's also chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee and a friend. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Good morning. Did you see our January fundraising numbers for the National Republican Senatorial Committee?
I did not.
We raised over $8 million. We have $17 million of cash on hand. Our average donation was $32. We had almost 90,000 individual donors. So people know we've got to take back the majority, and we've got to fight back against this radical left. So if anybody wants to help us, it's nrsc.org. But we are going to elect Republican senators in 2022. So we take back a majority in the Senate. I think Kevin McCarthy is going to take back a majority in the House, and we're going to stop the Democrats' support for socialism, higher taxes, more regulation, big government, and this cancel culture, which is bad for America. So I'm excited.
I think you're a great chairman because I intended to get to that, but you put it up top so it's in the lead. No one's going to be able to read the transcript and not go past the nrsc.org button. Senator, let me begin with the question on everyone's mind. The videos yesterday, the testimony in the impeachment trial was harrowing, to say the least. And I believe no one who watched it would be other than horrified by it. I am wondering if anyone in the Republican caucus who voted against proceeding on constitutional or prudential grounds has changed your mind to your knowledge.
Well, I think I'll tell you my case. The videos were horrible. The people that did this need to be prosecuted. Nobody should be coming to the Capitol. Nobody should be doing anything that hurts another human being or tears up property. It shouldn't happen. So my hope is that everybody will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But here's why I look at this. The Democrats are just obsessed with Trump. I mean, Trump is not in office. I mean, he is not the president. And so why don't the Democrats stop their obsession and focus on getting something done instead of making us sit through this unconstitutional, backward-looking, waste of time impeachment? I mean, the Democrats don't care about getting anything done for a family. This is just pure political theater. It ought to be done at the Kennedy Center. It shouldn't be done at the Capitol. So I hope, I'll be glad when this ends. I hope everybody in this country is thinking, why are the Democrats focused on the past rather than the future? This is horrible. This is horrible precedent. So if you don't like the next president, so you're going to find something to impeach him on. And then whoever's in the Senate then has to sit through an impeachment where, think about it, there was no due process. I mean, they didn't do any interviews. They didn't do any depositions. They did nothing. They just said, "Oh, we got to impeach this guy," and then they sat on it. They had to rush through it, and then it sat on it. So there's nothing for an American family, and I'm disappointed in what the Democrats have done.
So the point, though, being 44 of the members of the Republican caucus voted against proceeding, either because it's unconstitutional or they had, in the case of Ted Cruz, an argument that it's too partisan. Have any of those 44, to your knowledge, changed their mind, or is the acquittal of President Trump still a guaranteed thing in your mind?
Nobody's told me that they've changed their mind. I mean, look, I think we all hated the fact. I mean, just disgusted. It's just disgusting that people would come into the Capitol and some of the things these people said. It's just absolutely disgusting. I'm disappointed that President Trump didn't say something quicker to make sure people left the Capitol. With that, I'm very disappointed that he didn't do that. But this is just a charade because the Democrats are obsessed with a prior president. This is horrible. This is horrible precedent. And by the way, if it's constitutional, where's the Chief Justice?
Well, I have pointed out
running the thing.
Article 2, Section 4 persuaded me even before Judge Luttig opined on this, and he's the authority to whom I look. I know there are counter authorities and people like Mike McConnell, a former judge, and Chuck Cooper, a former United States Assistant Attorney General and a big man in the conservative movement. However, Article 2, Section 4 is pretty clear to me, and I don't have to invent phrases that aren't there in order to justify this. But, Senator, I also wonder about the message that's going out in no other setting, not a criminal trial or a civil trial, not in any proceeding in a college or a fraternity or a club or anywhere are victims allowed to be jurors. And this is unique because you are solely charged with impeachment. I don't know if it were an impeachable offense and it was constitutionally being conducted in the appropriate time, it would be difficult. But what do you think about being a juror as you see the video of, I don't know if you were in the Senate that day, but, Mitt Romney's been a friend of mine since 2005. It's very upsetting to see this stuff happen. I've known Mike Pence longer than that. I just don't know how anyone can actually fairly judge this.
Well, I was there, and we were, we evacuated. It, you know, I was never fearful for my life. But I mean, I'm sure maybe some people were. I don't know, but it's wrong what they did. It's wrong. It's disgusting. It's undemocratic. All the bad things. This is not what should be happening in our country. So I want to thank our law enforcement. I want to thank the Capitol Police. I mean, they did. If you look at what they did, I mean, they clearly did everything they could to try to make sure this didn't happen, that people didn't get hurt. The lives are lost are horrible. There's nothing you can say good about this, but it's unconstitutional. The president should have said something faster. But this is just political theater because they're obsessed with a prior president. Let's remember that. And Nancy Pelosi sat on this. If she actually wanted a trial, she could have. They could have done this. I think the way they did it without any testimony, without anything, was wrong. But she sat on it even after that. Didn't give it to us.
So to just summarize and move on, Senator. You still think it's unconstitutional. Yesterday's testimony
Absolutely.
did not change your point of view, and you know of no other Republican who has changed their point of view.
Not that they've said it to me, Hugh.
And so your estimate is still, as Lindsey Graham said this morning, you would agree the president will be acquitted at the end of this.
Absolutely. If it's unconstitutional, how can you convict somebody in something that's unconstitutional?
Well, that's what I tried to argue on NBC last night with Chuck Todd, is that not one member of the 44 who voted not to proceed on Tuesday are going to vote to proceed and to convict on the basis of video that they already know exists. Otherwise, that would be demonstrating a lack of grasp on the Constitution, given the argument that they made on Tuesday. It's just astonishing to me, the coverage of this. But let's go to now post-acquittal. The Senate has to come back to. I have one more question on process. Last night, Senator Lee objected to the manager's presentation, arguing that he was being mischaracterized and that they had alleged he had said something he did not say. He was quite adamant about this. He's a very good lawyer, that they were using untruthful testimony. He objected. Senator Leahy, who is in the chair, not the Chief Justice, and Senator Leahy is, by everyone's admission, one of the most partisan Democrats on the Hill. Senator Leahy overruled him and would not allow that objection. What does that tell you about the fairness of this proceeding?
Yeah, how can somebody that's a partisan be a judge? I mean, how can they be presiding over the Senate? Where is the Chief Justice? Where is the Chief Justice? Read the Constitution. That's what it says. If we're going to have an impeachment, it's going to be with the Chief Justice. He didn't show up. And we're talking about a former president, a civilian right now. We are impeaching. We're doing an impeachment trial over a civilian.
And the jury is made up of victims, and the judge is Patrick Leahy himself a victim. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, and the prudential thing, as well as the constitutional thing, would have been said.
It's a horrible precedent.
Move on.
Think of the precedent of this. Do you think there's not going to be pressure now for Republicans to do this when we get control of the House in 2 years?
Well, there's going to be pressure for Kevin McCarthy to bring impeachment proceeding against Nancy Pelosi for abuse of her speaker's gavel. And I don't think that would be wise. I will oppose it at the time. But there will be Republicans who want her impeached and she's going to retire, as a former speaker because of her abuse of the impeachment trial. I mean, it never stops. It never stops.
And this is nothing to help an American citizen. Nobody wins. Nobody gets help. Nobody gets a job. Nobody gets a vaccine. Nobody gets a school open. Nobody gets anything out of this. This is just political theater.
All right. Now, Senator, if I can move to the $1.9 trillion budget reconciliation, we know that they are going to pass a lot of money. Joe Biden wants to pass double what President Obama passed. I think it comes down to the math being that. Of that 1.9, is any of it going to go to national defense? Because the Congress will have appropriated $5 trillion in the course of 1 year. I don't think they're going to spend a penny for defense, reversing the old adage, millions for defense, not a penny for tribute. It's going to be millions for pork, not a penny for defense.
Yeah, look, the Democrats don't care about the defending this country. They don't. It's a fight to get money in the budget for defense. And look at this. We've spent already on COVID. We've spent over 4.5 or allocated over $4.5 trillion. We actually don't even know how much we haven't spent. We have no earthly idea. Will all Republicans want to help people who have lost their job? You better believe it. Help our businesses get open. Republicans will do that. But this idea of bailing out New York and California revenues are up billions of dollars, and they want to give them, it's just a payback. It's a payback to Cuomo. It's a payback to Pritzker in Illinois. It's a payback to Newsom out in California for their support of Biden. That's all this is. $350 billion when these states have not seen a downturn in their revenue.
So Senator
we've
Scott,
already given them $400 billion. This is ridiculous.
Given that they're going to do it, the one thing I would support first, of course, is additional PPP for businesses that have been shuttered. And then I would support the child tax credit. Is there, of all the 1.9 trillion, which is so much money, I can't put my arms around it, what is the least bad expenditure of that 1.9 trillion in your view?
Well, we have to continue to say, do we need more money to get the vaccine out? Do we need more money to help our small businesses stay open or get open? Do we need more money for our schools? Now, I think all those things we've got to look at. We've got to look at people if they've lost their jobs. That's what we've got to focus on. But this idea of bailing out states, that are seeing that. And first off, how did the federal government become responsible when we've already given them $400 billion in the last year, and they won't even tell us how they've spent that money, even though it was all supposed to be spent on COVID. No, the states don't even tell us anything.
All right, a last question, Senator, because
crazy.
I always want to check in on the recruitment effort. You've got to find candidates in Ohio. I believe Josh Mandel, the former state treasurer, is going to run for Rob Portman's seat. I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. How are you doing on recruitment?
We're talking to a lot of people. There's a lot of interest. People know it's going to be 22 is going to be a great year to win seats. I think the ones we clearly have a really good shot at winning is Arizona, Georgia, New Hampshire, Nevada. But the truth is, I think it's going to be a great year all across the country because people are going to be fed up with this agenda of open borders, amnesty, killing jobs. The Keystone Pipeline just killed the jobs and they don't care. Raise the minimum wage, which we know millions of people lose their jobs. The Democrats, we don't care. The debt, we have $27 trillion worth of debt. The Democrats, they don't care. Buttigieg, who's the transportation secretary, wants to raise your gas tax. That's a tax on the poorest Americans the most. So the Americans are going to be fed up with the Democrat socialism, big government, higher taxes agenda, and we're going to have a big year in 22.
Keep posting us up, Senator Rick Scott from Florida. Thank you, Senator.